Good day, everyone. Okay, I'm gonna get the link shared out here, and we're gonna talk a little bit about Bitcoin. A couple things. I have some time here on the weekend, and this could actually get kind of interesting. No. I love these live stream titles. All right. Let's move this over here. Yeah, this is potentially pretty important local price action here. Even though it's a Saturday, which makes you think that it probably won't be important. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens at these lows, this retest, this uptrend, all of this. If we get a bounce, or if we just break all this down, and if we start breaking it down, it could come quickly. I am short, but yeah, I thought, it's a weekend, probably nothing's going to happen here, but I'm going to take a few minutes to hop on a live stream. And I should note there's a little bit of bearish order flow here on Bybit. You can see some aggression coming in here, mostly shorts closing aggressively, getting absorbed to some limit selling pressure. See the decrease in open interest. It's not quite the same on Binance, but this is a pretty significant local bearish divergence pushing us after a sweep of these highs. That last sweep of our high was a short trigger for me. I talked about that on yesterday's live stream. It's a nice idea out of a range here. It's about as clean of an idea as you could hope to get for a short setup. So for this level, right? And now it's just a matter of what happens here. Did we break down? Are we bouncing? There's definitely some ranging scenarios too for this. Obviously we have a strong downtrend here, but ranging scenarios, we just take these lows. There's a bit of a GP region around just under 95K. If we come straight down into that trending, maybe we come up and take the highs again, then what have you. But we obviously have been in a really strong uptrend, and just defined by the fact of higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows on every time frame almost. So a breakdown into this is kind of, you could say, a quote-unquote trending breakdown, but this will be the first time that we've actually taken an established low if we get something like that. And presumably there's a lot of trailed long positions down here, so price could move fairly quickly. But anyways, could be interesting, might not be. Phil Precious says clutch as fuck with the clutch AF with the new subscription, dude. Thank you, man. Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about that just for a minute. For anyone that doesn't know, but you probably do, you're probably here from the Discord or from Twitter. I'm adding a new tier of membership to the Discord that is priced quite a bit lower than the current tier, and it will give access to all of the educational content. and not just the educational content, but it will also give content to, or access to the Lucky Bot. It's a, you know, it's an AI model, but it's been trained on like tens of thousands of whatever it is, 40, 50,000 of my updates. And so you can just basically ask it questions. And then I'm going to give some of the high time frame updates for that tier. But then all of the live market updates that I do, I'm going to elevate those with kind of the freedom of knowing that I'm not speaking to beginner traders as well. And just, you know, I have it here written, the higher tier membership, it is not recommended for anyone who has not gone through the Learning Ape content. So basically this is a tier of membership where you can comfortably go through all the educational content, do paper trading, not feel that pressure to make it your full-time job, to get through it in the first month. And it's way more accessible, while also allowing me to elevate the content in the higher tier. So I think it's going to be great. I think it's a good thing to do. And I also might start doing my live streams exclusively to those two tiers of membership. I think that's going to elevate my live streams a lot as well. Just talking to people who have a foundation of the types of things that I'm utilizing in my trading and concepts, and it's not just new people who aren't familiar with all those things, just kind of asking the same questions every day, and kind of give some freedom to talk more about the specifics of trade setups and ideas, and with just knowing you're talking to just not random people tuning into your live streams. So anyways, I'm thinking about making live streams almost exclusively that, maybe occasionally the public live stream. And yeah, we'll see. I think with the new addition of the that tier of membership, I think that's going to potentially be a good change. I think it's just going to again elevate the live streams as well. Just yeah, but anyways, BBBCCC says, what makes a low an established low? Well, when I'm using the term here, I'm just saying a low in which price bounce. Like this low is established, this low is established, this low is established, established, and price has, in all of these contexts, put in a low. Even this is an established low, and it never took the low again. Never took the low again. I mean, even here, never took it, never took it, never took it, never took it. Here, never took it, never took it. Even this did not take the low. And so I'm just saying we've established lows that we've bounced from, and they've been higher lows. So we've never established a low like this low and then taken the low. We've just been putting in a series of higher lows on every relevant time frame, with the last one, and I talked about this kind of trend line idea for a potential catalyst for a move to the upside here, with the last one being into this trending intersection, or trending trend line, and then this is going to be testing that uptrend. You know, maybe we get a bounce there, maybe we just roll over, and this will be, I think, just visually on the chart, you can say it's going to be the first time, if we take these lows, the first time we'll have taken an established low within this uptrend. I think you can even just see it visually that you wouldn't probably call this an established low in the uptrend. If we put in a low here and we bounce, then I would call this an established low. And if we bounce, put in a new high, and then bounce again, then that trend of not taking an established low will continue. I did, I did I have seen a couple just little early signs of the type of things you kind of see near the highs. I mean, just if you kind of follow along with the types of things that I'm looking at, typically on most time frames, and particularly here, it's not that bullish ideas can't play from here, but if you were ever to just really turn on your bear hat and just say like, hey, am I going to be open to bearish scenarios here? It's got to be here, right? I mean, it's got to be the major GP, the POC, you know, strong impulse into that level. This looks, again, structurally still looks bullish here until it starts breaking down. But this is the type of level where you're just like, I mean, I saw some people in the Discord, you know, they have some bullish stuff that they're looking at here, but basically just saying there's too much confluence for a short not to take the short up here. But it's true, there's bullish factors at play too. But if you're ever going to be bearish on this impulse, I mean, it's got to be here, right? If you subscribe to some of the ideas that I do. But anyways, I thought it was kind of interesting. I just saw a comment on somebody. It's just a type of thing. It's not really that big of a deal, but just somebody said something like, this is all mental gymnastics, just buy Bitcoin. All you have to do is buy Bitcoin, and then they blocked me. It's like that's the kind of thing you start to see, right? Where people are like, this is bullshit. Trading is bullshit. Bitcoin's gonna go up forever. All you have to do is buy Bitcoin, blah, 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 blah. There's obviously bullish ideas down here. But anyways, it'll be interesting to see what happens at these local lows. I mean, I think just with the context of this just really clear local downtrend on the hourly chart, the lows all right here, some local bearish divs forming, at least on Bybit. I wouldn't be surprised to see all of that come pretty quickly. We can potentially get something like this. Yeah. Kind of a little bit of a loaded question, maybe. Kush asks, if we break the current trend line on the pump, do you think 72K probability will be higher? Yeah, but what does that really mean? I mean, it's just kind of the nature of major levels, like, and ideas. Like, if we break down this trend line, yeah, the probability of lower is probably higher. If we flip this and can never get back above it, the probability of lower is probably higher. But there's a lot of levels between here and these lows. You know, I think the most compelling higher low ideas just in here, taking all these lows, retracing this. It's kind of like this is like a condensed version of that, where you have your initial move, establish some higher lows ranging, impulse, price takes out all those, and then rallies. So it's not, I mean, just the structural similarities here. Obviously, this is more protracted. You have the initial impulse, some ranging, an impulse, and you come down and wipe out those lows. And then you have some of those higher low ideas, which I think for me, even in the context of the bearish ideas, probably somewhere you bounce. The idea of shorting here plays into the bullish ideas, and probably need to be looking to take some TPs off of those shorts down here, and look for some long setups, even for higher lows, right? You know, this down towards the 786, 618 region. 618 aligns right with all the lows. So, you know, how many times have we seen that? So definitely going to be interested in some long setups there. And for the bear scenarios, then hey, maybe we put in another lower high and rotate to the downside. Or for the bullish scenarios, rotate to the upside. Ideally have some shorts with TPs, longs with TPs. Let those positions resolve themselves and look for new opportunities. Someone's saying ETH broke the downtrend line. I'm not sure. I don't actually have one drawn here, but yeah, it's broken this. If you have this drawn as downtrend, it's broken out of this. But like this would be a bounce from a uptrend, testing the bigger downtrend. All right, let's simplify things a little bit. I mean, ultimately, I think my personal plan is pretty straightforward. It's gonna require taking some trades, maybe losing some trades, maybe winning all my trades. All of that can play, but so Kutso says, could you please repeat the BTC scenario? I guess I noted around 4 ones from the past few lives. Feel kind of distracted. We can talk about a lot of different scenarios, but the primary ideas are going to be: are we going to put in a new low, or are we going to put in a higher low somewhere? A higher low somewhere and continue towards all-time highs. Is this a shift and a bottom and a shift in the trend and prices carrying on towards all-time highs and beyond? And in the bullish scenarios, you're probably expecting some pullbacks, right? So you really have several major structures. One being these lows, taking these lows, something like this. You know, you maybe get the GP retest of this, and that would be probably the more aggressive version of a long setup. Or the next kind of likely idea here is we run into these lows. So for me, if I'm looking for swing longs on pullbacks for a continuation, it's got to be this. And it's got to be this, right? Like this region, taking these lows, some strength out of here. But a big rejection here plays into a lot of the bullish scenarios, let's say from an Elliott wave perspective, and the bear scenarios. This could be a major high for the bear scenarios, and it could be a local high for the bullish scenarios. So the idea for me would be to be short here and to look to trade this down towards the deeper, let's say the deeper bullish scenarios. I'll say, depending on what happens, I might be looking for a long setup in here, but taking profits off of it, reducing the risk, pulling the stop, and then doing the same thing here. So really it's just about levels. It's about levels, which is, this is a major idea, taking this low. And if we break this down, say we flip this into resistance, then that long is probably getting stopped out. Maybe you have removed the risk by then, maybe you haven't, but either way, it's probably getting stopped out in the bear scenarios. The rest of your short, which you've probably taken some profits on, is carrying into the lows. And for me, this is the next major target down at 60, probably 65 to 67K. But of course, there's some ideas down in these lows as well. But you're basically looking to just trade around major levels. And if you're say if you're really bullish and you're really not that concerned about round tripping or taking a stop on a trade like this, and you just want swing longs, then your option here is just to carry those longs, right? Until they get stopped and potentially towards new all-time highs, which I think there's some pretty compelling ideas for that. And so you just put on that risk and you let that position carry towards all-time highs. If you want to hedge with the bearish scenarios and you're in this long, you might be looking for some structured weakness, retests, rejections to lock in the TP1 off of that and stop to entry. And then if the rest carries, great. You can always look for new setups. And if not, then you get stopped out on the rest of your short carries into the lower levels. But there's no reason to get too it's not even like to really think too much about what's going to happen there, because we'll just see, right? Like, you know, this is an SR flip, it's a GP, it's kind of a local region. I'm pretty sure it's actually the 382 from the major low as well. So you have some fib confluence there. Local 618, local 382, SR flip, runs all these lows. I mean, for me, like the reason I'm saying that, this is the type of thing that like I would like to, you know, it's the type of thing that would be more catered to what I described with like the higher tier of membership, right? Where it's not really a trade that you're like, it's just, you're expecting, like if we get a quick move, you're expecting something, a big move wick down into this, depending on how that move comes. It comes really quick. Like this is all to be a really reactive area. And so it's certainly something at the very least you're kind of willing to scalp, right? If you're seeing a nice reaction off of this, you're watching all the lower time frame stuff, you take a long, and then price just starts V-shaping, and you're probably watching this for a TP1, watching some of this internal structure, and you might just lock in some profits and leave the rest. But if it just starts impulsing, then you're just in a nice long. But you're probably really playing this level tight to the chest, right? In terms of TPs. Because I think there's a lot of scenarios where I would take a long like that. Like this all starts rolling over, this starts flipping, and then you do something like this and you're long and you're really eyeballing some of this resistance, and you say, yeah, I'm just going to lock in the TP, I'll leave 30% of it running, see if we get some continued strength here. Maybe you retest it, maybe there's reasons to long it again, maybe you just carry higher, maybe you break down. That's potentially how I would trade a level like that. Because it's just sort of silly, like you just, I mean, when you look at how price moves, for example, this is a long I took, like I had a short up here, and I was looking for these lows to come eventually, but I also liked the idea of this, and then running these highs for continuation. So anyways, I this is like a long I took off an idea like that, where it's like, yeah, I'm kind of bearish for lows, but I'm still willing to take longs. Obviously we ended up just carrying higher, and you know, I didn't, but I could have just held that long. But that's how I would look at something like this. It's even in the scenarios that are bearish, like this gets interesting to long just for even higher lower high ideas, right? And so you maybe can lock in a win there. But that's more, yeah, just about seeing what's going on at the time. I don't use hash ribbon signals. I wish the never mind. Yeah. So we'll see. You could probably argue, if you wanted to be really really tight, like my short looks like this. If you wanted to, you know, is there any reason to take a full stop on this at this point? Probably not. Like, this happens, but then you have to be willing to short again. We could take a look at order flow too here as the lows come in. So quite a bit of selling pressure here on Binance. What do I think of hype? I think that I got front run. I liked some idea of some ideas of running through this, building up a range here, and then maybe deviating out of the range and, you know, rejecting back into the lows here. But no cigar. We are testing the GP of this pivot as well. I mean, it's a breakout. Again, you have to just kind of say, obviously really strong locally, and similarly, you know, if you get that SR flip retest, take some of these daily lows, that would look really nice. This is I mean, yeah, both of these would be interesting setups. Take these lows, take these lows. Just nice, clean, tight invalidation setups. If you hold this and reclaim it, you're long. If you break it down, you're not. And you do the same thing here. Okay, so Easy Kappa, who said, what do you think about hype on short at the moment? Got a similar short on Bitcoin running. And say, shorted that GP. Yeah, low time frame seems strong too. Might have to cut it here. Yeah, well, you kind of, I mean, you have a little bit of confluence here for the short. You know, we ran these daily highs, or did we just wick them into the GP? So that's kind of a nice little local short trigger there. Like if you short the tag of this high into the GP, can't really complain. You're saying it looks kind of strong on the low time frames. I'm not sure which time frame you're referring to. Certainly, it's holding this uptrend. Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to get in, like, this is where you're kind of mixing time frames here. Nice. Yeah, he says literally what I shorted. Yeah, I'm not sure. I actually don't know if you're a member or not, but this would be a pretty typical member style a setup that I would be looking at. Like, just come tag these pivot highs into the GP, nice impulse into the level. I think it's a really clean entry. You are a member, yeah. It's a really clean entry idea for a short setup. I mean, you even have the benefit of like some of this local stuff too. If you just have an alert set to short up here, it's quite clean. But like you said, showing a little bit of low time frame strength here. If you're like, I'd be curious. Yeah, you said you'll send it in the chat. Like, what's your setup look like? Like, did you short it like this? I'll take a look in the chat. Yeah, nice. You traded it pretty. So just for frame of reference, he sent this in the chat. Yeah, you basically have exactly what I drew out here. I'll get back to you on this question about the if the altcoin charts will be included in the 39-day membership or $39 membership. Yeah. So, anyways, I mean, if you're going to like micromanage this position, you're kind of mixing time frames here, which is, this is sort of a major idea. Like, come up and take all these highs, and you traded it pretty tight. It looks like into this high. It's not necessarily unlucky that I mean, it's just you have a low time frame uptrend, kind of a higher time frame breakup into a really important high time frame idea. Like, if you're going to see some kind of significant retracement, not surprised, right, to see it from here, but also not surprised to see price not go straight down. I mean, you know, there's still a lot of structure here. There's a couple ways to think about something like this. I mean, this looks kind of intentional. You know, all the downtrend stuff is breaking. But it's just like, the tricky part is you just do anything like this and then roll over, right? And that's not atypical for what you're going to see in these bear scenarios. I'll tell you, there's not a right or a wrong answer, but like if you, for example, were looking at this trending structure and you just said, okay, well, I'm in this short, I'm going to TP if this holds. I'm going to add back if we, you know, maybe take some of this, another lower high, or take, I'm just going to add back where I cut and just put the risk back on and say, well, you know what, at least the downtrend's broken now. And you're putting all your profits that you just made off the trade at risk, but at least you have the benefit of knowing that the downtrend or the uptrend is broken. Whereas right now you just have a bounce off the uptrend. So you're essentially in this same trade, but you at least have the context that this is breaking and not bouncing. And even if you're in the same trade at the same price, you at least have the structural benefit. And it's not to say price can't go up, but at least you're out and you're in on a trend bounce or a trend breakdown. And you literally are just rolling the exact same position size back in. I'm just giving a scenario, in this scenario. So you're not actually taking anything off the trade. You're just using the profits that you took on the initial move and then putting them back at risk into the trade. So you have the same size, with the benefit of that decision just being that in one case you're not in the trade if this is all holding, and in the other case you're back in the trade if it's breaking. So that's one way to use a low time frame of reference in managing a higher time frame trade. And then, you know, in the case where you get the strong move back to the upside, well then maybe you've locked in all those profits, and maybe take the short again with your initial risk profile, and if you lose then you still made the money from the initial short, and then you're just taking another short on a retest, something like that. I think that's a relatively straightforward way to use low time frame structure to manage a higher time frame position, which is you don't feel like you're losing out on your let's say your position size here. You're still worried, of course, if this starts happening, but at least you gave price the chance to bounce. Yeah, so he says, Easy Capo says, damn, that's dope, didn't think of that. Yeah, it's obviously, it's not a silver bullet. It's not to say like you're never going to feel concerned again about the trade, because you could just, say, okay, I'll get back in it, and this starts happening, and you're probably going to feel some of that concern, seeing the red P&L go up. And I've talked about this a lot before, is some people find it more difficult to see the red number get bigger than the unrealized green number get smaller, even though it's the same thing if you just close the trade here. But that can alleviate some of the for those traders who are really active on the charts, alleviate some of the pressure in a position, just to say, if they start seeing something, okay, this is looking kind of bullish, and I don't know, maybe we just put in a lower high and reject, but right now this is bullish and I'm kind of nervous being in my short with this happening. That gives you a tool to just say, oh, I can just get out of my short and I can just get back into it if this breaks, and then that all of a sudden all the stress is gone. You don't really care what happens here. Okay, if this happens, great, I'll just get back in, and if this happens, great, I'll look to short again higher. Instead of just hoping, when you're seeing something starting to happen that's sort of bullish, instead of just hoping that it doesn't play, you can just act on something you're seeing and act again if something else you see is happening. Bob's asking, quick question, what do you typically look for when entering a trade? Are your fibs the trigger? It just depends on the trade. Like, there's so many different types of trades and triggers, and like there's a totally different trade context for even this short, like taking a sweep of a high into a major level with some confluences, or trading into a trend or grinding price action. And there's lots of ways to structure trades as well. I wouldn't really say there's just like a trade trigger, but there's probably some commonalities, because there's lots of different types of trades, right? Like, you could even say, you know, if you're shorting this, there's a difference between shorting this and shorting, say, this, and this is your downtrend, and you might just say, okay, well, I'm gonna look for this, and your entry is just, it's not really about your entry, it's just like you're just saying we're grinding into the lows. I don't know what's going to happen at the lows. This might just be a quick little trade. Maybe we break down, maybe we don't. And my invalidation isn't really like a hard stop where I'm losing, 1% here. It's just a little bit of size. And if this little grindy downtrend starts breaking without taking those lows and the structure starts shifting here, then maybe just out of that trade at a round entry. And you're more just shorting the condition of price right now, right? And you're not actually ever going to take a full stop here probably in that scenario. You're just going to see if there's a shift in this structure, because it's kind of just rolling over right now. But this is more stuff. I want to do more stuff along these lines in the higher tier membership Discord. Just kind of more just structuring trades differently everywhere. And not feeling kind of beholden to really like explain every concept about trading, risk management, like cutting on signs of strength and all of that stuff on every single thing you post, because then it's just too overwhelming to like, you can't do a seminar on every single trade idea you talk about, or you just don't want to talk about them. Anyways, that's not really relevant to this live stream. Santiago says, hype is showing bullish in order flow. Would that change the short scenario? Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe post what you're looking at there. I'm not sure if it's showing that. Easy Capital says, so would just cut the trade, let's say take 50% and let the rest run, or close it and act based on the second scenario you talked about. Well, I'm not necessarily saying what you, I'm just saying you have options, right? You could close the entire trade and open the entire trade. Maybe you'd want to be a little bit tighter into this trend line, but anyways, like you start to see this, just close the entire thing and just open it all back up here if you're in this short. You can also, like you said, if you don't really want to be fidgeting around with these low time frames, you could take half off, leave the rest in. You could leave the whole thing running as well and just say, hey, you know what, this is going to happen a lot and it's going to be uncomfortable, I'll just sit through it. But it really also depends. Like I said, are you sitting at the charts all day? Are you setting alerts here? It's about making a reasonable decision, right? And what's reasonable, it's not just about what's happening here on the 15-minute chart in the broader context of your short idea. It's also about what, it's your lifestyle around trading. Like, are you looking at the charts once a week? Then, hey, you're probably not managing this trade here, right? You're probably just saying, well, I'm just leaving the risk in. I mean, maybe I'll put my stop to break even. Maybe I'll try to short it again if we get another retest and rejection of the highs. But I'm not really interested in opening and closing. You need to be kind of careful, because at some point you have to just probably put leave the risk on in this idea. If you're trying to close the entire thing here, reopen here, and then this happens, and you close it again, and then this happens, and you reopen it, and all of a sudden you've just lost everything you made off the trade and more, trying to micromanage some of this, right? So it's a double-edged sword. You probably want to still stick to major themes or ideas in your trade. Which is like, if this happens, you know, your major theme might be this uptrend versus this major level, and you might not be opening and closing on every little bounce in here, and you know, maybe you have the theme of a downtrend here, but yeah, you don't, all of a sudden you're taking 20 trades if you're doing too much here. So 20 trades into what is just one short setup, that's what I mean. And so the double-edged sword is you don't want to get too caught up in micromanaging every minor move, every minor structure, and so, but you might take into account the most bullish scenarios for this type of setup. Okay, we took our first low here on Bitcoin. Not a lot going on Bybit, a little bit more on Binance in order flow. James Pearson says, "Are you able to review my trade?" Sure. If you can drop it in the Discord, I'll take a look at it. Yeah, as far as the gentleman who said that, Santiago, who said hype has bullish order flow, would that change anything with the short? I mean, it doesn't change the structural ideas, but I mean, you have a low time frame bullish uptrend here, and yeah, you probably have some aggressive selling getting absorbed here, so you'd take it into account. I mean, I would say this is a nice short trigger, but all this uptrending context like we went over is still relevant, and yeah, there certainly appears to be, I'd have to dive a little bit more into the order flow, but it appears there's some bullish absorption into this uptrend, which kind of makes sense. It's been a pretty strong move. Dev says, yesterday we missed the liquidity at 98K by a few bucks. Yeah, I'm not really, I mean, I'm sure there's people that maybe just like run positions at the whole number, like 98K. They type in 98,000 for their TPs or their short entries or whatever. I think the relevance here is just like, it's just what's happening at these highs, right? Price carrying through or rejecting, and if you're, personally, I would just defer to just take the short here and leave some room for price to either reject or not. Be interesting to see what happens here, if this just rolls over, if we come back up into the range. We took our first local low. Let's see if you drop that trade in the Discord. James Pearson. iDev, who said yesterday we missed the liquidity at 98,000. He said, looking back, I should have probably. He said, looking back, probably should have opened the short, but I was looking at the liquidation heat map and decided to wait. Yeah, those liquidation heat maps are definitely they are just kind of a best guess estimate, right? They're not typically, they're not liquidation data per se. They're just kind of, I mean, yeah, I think they're kind of just fancy ways of marking out highs and lows. Probably looks pretty hot here, looks really hot here, looks hot here, looks hot here, looks hot here. So they're kind of estimates. I'm looking for that. I'm usually not sitting and reviewing a bunch of trades, but I said I would do it, but I don't see that you posted a trade in here. To the gentleman that asked me to review his trade. Decent amount of selling done at the lows here on Binance. I would say there's a market difference between the behavior right now in Binance and Bybit. Bybit more bearish, some aggressive longs coming in here. But definitely not bullish. Like this is more still bearish in the context of this trend on Binance, but maybe a little bit more neutral because there's not big bearish divergences. But CBD is going up and or sideways. This price is going down, so I'm looking at I'm looking at XRP, ADA. We could have a little conversation about MSTR. Christine Fiber says, here's an interesting one to look at. MSTR, the future bear market liquidation catalyst. Maybe. Could also just be a MSTR liquidation catalyst. I would actually be interested to, I'm sure there's a lot of people here that have a better understanding of what it is that strategy or MicroStrategy is doing. But I'll kind of share my thoughts because we were talking about it a little bit today in the Discord. So this is what I had to say about it. But so I was asked, or we were talking about some things with funding rates and whatever, but I said, I'm sure there's some people trying to play the game of acquiring Bitcoin to sell it to Saylor higher, because you essentially have Saylor making he's like sending out a declaration, right? That he's going to keep leveraging and top blasting Bitcoin forever, because he signaled pretty strongly that he will borrow to buy at any price. Huge 4D chess if he's sending that signal to drive some entities to play that game of unloading to him. And his current buys are more a convincing bluff to send the convincing signal that anything else, more a convincing bluff to send a convincing signal than anything else, just to get help driving the price up, and then he just doesn't keep borrowing. If you have a guy that says, don't worry, I'll buy another 100 billion at 200K, and you believe him, you might be interested in just building a position here and driving price up to sell it to him. If he's selling it, if you have a guy who can't buy until price goes higher and says he will, then you basically have your exit liquidity. It's like a free trade. And the only way you believe him is if he's doing what he keeps doing what he's doing now. And I said, this probably isn't what he's doing, but sort of big brain if he is. And I elaborated a little more. I just want to, maybe you guys have some different thoughts. Yeah, I said so. Oh, someone asked me what I thought of his average entry. Roger asked me. I said, as for his average entry, that's not surprising because he's not accumulating with a paycheck over time. He's borrowing against unrealized gains, essentially. So the higher price goes, the more he can borrow and buy. So he never had the option to buy this much at the lows. He needs the price to go up to borrow. Think of it as if you had a 1K position at 15,000 per Bitcoin, and as price goes up, you leverage the profits at the top. People would say, why didn't you buy all that at the lows? But you never had that option because you had to have the unrealized profits or the profits to leverage into the top to collateralize the borrowing. And then, so anyways, it gets a little bit, I say, and the value of his stock is predicated on maintaining a certain leverage threshold to Bitcoin's price. So he sort of has to do that. If he doesn't, as price goes up, then suddenly MicroStrategy isn't a leveraged Bitcoin position. It's a semi-Bitcoin position, and the stock crashes. I said I might be talking out of my ass, but that's how I interpret it. For example, let's imagine he hadn't top blasted all of these new buys and Bitcoin rallied to 500K. I think that would actually be bad for his stock because the value of his stock is not actually pegged to Bitcoin. It's pegged to the idea that it's a leveraged Bitcoin. It's sort of like Nvidia stock. The price isn't pegged to the idea that it will be a profitable company. It's pegged to the idea that it will grow 30% a year for the next 5 years. And if it only grows 20% a year, then the stock will fall in half. It will drop by 50%, even if it's growing 20% a year, because, again, it's predicated on the idea that it will grow at a certain rate. So similarly, the value of strategy stock isn't pegged to the idea that Bitcoin will go up. It's that Bitcoin will go up and MicroStrategy will maintain a certain threshold of leverage. Then I said, which is why MicroStrategy chart looks like this. It's up 6,000%, order of magnitude, thousands and thousands of percent, while Bitcoin's up 600%, because it's a leveraged product. So, but if they suddenly became an unleveraged Bitcoin vehicle or much lower leverage, their stock would crash. Even if Bitcoin, I said again, this is my opinion, it's just more my interpretation of what I understand with what they're doing. So ultimately he's painted himself into a corner a bit where he needs to keep top blasting to maintain his stock price and just hope Bitcoin keeps going up. because if he sits on his hands or deleverages, the stock just crashes, even if Bitcoin goes up. Because again, the reason MicroStrategy is up 5,000-6,000% and Bitcoin's up 500-600% is because MicroStrategy is meant to maintain a certain threshold of leverage against Bitcoin. And so if they start deleveraging, then the stock is just going to crash, right? Because it's no longer a leverage. It should balance out. If it's just a flat Bitcoin position, then it should reflect Bitcoin's growth, not the growth that it has. Just making a joke. People refer to it as infinite money glitch. But anyway, so then I just give the example that, or the idea that I say, but maybe the reason he's screaming from the rooftop that he will top blast forever and looks like a zealot that has made Bitcoin his religion is that he needs to draw in some big players, convince he's exit liquidity, and then Saylor uses them and deleverages, pays down the debt, and lets strategy stock price depeg from Bitcoin as a leverage product. If it's a role he's playing to convince everyone that he will in fact do it, he's doing a good job. It would just be funny if Bitcoin pumps and we all get a strategy has sold $200 billion worth of Bitcoin notification on X, and everyone trying to use him gets caught holding the bag. I went on one more time here. I said, if someone is screaming at you on the street that if you buy a pencil from them, they will buy a pencil from you for $100 tomorrow. If you buy it for $50 today, you might not believe them. But if they do enough stuff to convince you that they're just crazy, you might say, okay, I'll buy the pencil, and then feel dumb when they don't actually buy it from you the next day. So anyways, I kind of have this thought that's like there's going to be people, if you just had a guarantee, let's just kind of simplify things a little bit, that you have a guarantee that Saylor is going to leverage buy and can collateralize. If Bitcoin keeps going up to 500K, he's going to leverage all of his position to buy more Bitcoin from you at 500K, then you're kind of sitting here thinking, why wouldn't I just build a huge Bitcoin position here, push price higher, and just sell the Saylor? I have guaranteed exit liquidity. But then people will say, well, what if he doesn't do it? Like, why would he be yelling? It's like too good to be true. It's like somebody saying, if the US says, hey, if you push Bitcoin to 500K, we'll buy all the Bitcoin from you at 500K. You say, why would you tell us that? It's you're basically just saying you're going to give us money. And you kind of have a crazy guy who's saying, I'm going to do it. If you all buy Bitcoin now and you push it higher, I will leverage tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars and buy more from you. I'll buy it all back from you higher. It sounds too good to be true, but if you start thinking he's almost crazy, that he's done enough here, I think, to convince everyone he's gonna do it, right? Like, he keeps doing it. Here's another billion, another billion, another billion, and we're convinced that he is in fact, if we can push price up to 500K, he'll buy it all back from us. And then if Saylor just says, actually, we're selling everything, we're deleveraging, we'll buy on a retracement, something like that, whatever. This MicroStrategy stock crashes, but they pay back all their debt, something like that. And he's played the role beautifully, which is convincing everybody he's going to buy the pencil from them at $100 tomorrow. So don't worry, and no one doubts it. And you listen to some of the stuff he's saying, and he really sounds like truly like a fanatic, right? Like, he's like, I'm going to leave all my Bitcoin to the universe and I'll never sell it, and blah 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 blah. And he might really believe that, but he's in a dangerous game here, because he has this like hyper leveraged position tied to his stock price, and his stock price is tied to being hyper leveraged. And if he can't just say, like, okay, we're going to reduce our size and get to some more balanced or unleveraged position on Bitcoin, because if he does, the stock goes like this, even if Bitcoin's going up, because all this value of thousands and thousands and thousands of percent against Bitcoin is I definitely didn't have this pulled quite right. But of thousands and thousands of percent against Bitcoin is because they're leveraged, right? So people are, this product is the assumption that not only are they leveraged, they will remain leveraged. But I think most people here would just probably say, and I probably more so agree, that it's not some 4D chess trying to convince everybody that he'll be their exit liquidity while actually he's going to use everybody else. Because I don't think anybody doesn't seriously think like if Bitcoin has another strong impulse relative to the upside that they're just going to sell. I think he's done such a good job of convincing everyone that they will in fact buy more. But yeah, like I said, it would be kind of 4D chess if he just sold and everybody that was planning on using him as their exit liquidity is left holding the bag. And then it'd be funny if they just pump it to $10 million of Bitcoin and he's sidelined. Who knows? Yeah, IDA says, but he also needs Bitcoin to keep going up because that's how he will be able to buy more. Yeah, exactly. He can't. His average entry is always going to get higher and higher and higher because he can't buy more unless price goes higher, right? I mean, I think with his last raise, the way that was raised, I think he could have just held the cash and waited to buy more on a retracement or something, but I'm not sure. I think any kind of, but like in the grand scheme, if he's playing this big 4D chess thing, it's like these buys here that are probably still quite safe in terms of him being in any trouble. From what I understand, I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. Like people say Bitcoin needs to go to 5K for 5 years or 10K or 15K. I hear lots of different things, and if that doesn't happen, he's fine. I don't know if that's true or what's true, but from what I understand, it doesn't really matter what price does over the coming couple years. And so in that case, doing crazy things now to sell the story for later is probably a move. Because I mean there comes a point where it's just something to think about. I mean for as convinced as everybody, and I've talked about this before, so sorry for repeating myself, as convinced as anybody might be about what the future of Bitcoin looks like in the long term, and even in the short to near term for the more bullish scenarios and the types of things Saylor is talking about, there's a lot of people with a lot of money that aren't convinced, right? And they're not, you might be like, hey, they're just dumb. There's a lot of smart people with a lot of money that aren't that convinced, right? And by the way they're positioned. And of course there's I'm not saying that there aren't smart people with money placing the big bets on Bitcoin, but there's a lot of smart people with a lot of money that aren't. And that's just, never assume that you're the smartest guy in the room, right? I think, the idea would be that everybody eventually kind of wakes up, and when they do, price will explode because everybody realizes they need Bitcoin. But and maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't, who knows? This is this is the type of price action where you either are expecting this to break out or or just really roll over soon. It's like really clear selling pressure, but it's not like this. It's not like this rounded, grindy rollover price action. It's like it depends. It is actually kind of like this, but there's something else that's like, it's like this kind of, like, it either rolls over or it doesn't, I guess. We'll see. It starts looking like, oh yeah, no duh. Depending on what happens here. Same thing happened here, by the way. Lower time frames. We can go back into this like this turned into really strong trending price action on the lower time frames as this started flipping. And then even here on the 1 minute chart, this is actually all perfect trending price action. Like you just have this like really strong trending 1 minute time frame, price rolling over. I inverted the chart, so this was actually bullish, but you know, it can be easier to see upside down sometimes, just to put it into this context, where you basically just have this start happening. This is where we took the range high initially. Price bounces, rejects, bounces, rejects, and then we kind of run that little trend line. One more roll over here, and then we start ranging. Or no, we didn't start ranging there. we tested these highs and then rolled over. But anyways. It's not quite tight enough. Good night. Julito says, love these streams at 6 a.m. in my time zone. Gotta sleep. Easy Cabo says, how come you are so interested in these dino coins compared to some newer ones? I mean, I started tweeting about the OG season before the OG rally, actually, and was quite interested in Doge and XRP down at the lows, and they performed quite well. But yeah, I'm still interested in them for technical reasons, and I would just say the new and shiny coins, like, you know, it's like Pepe. It's like Pepe's on the kind of the threshold between an OG and a new shiny. But yeah, like I'm not really that interested in like with like all this stuff. This is just like dead coin territory. I've talked about all this stuff plenty before, but if you go back to, you know, top performers back in the 2021-2022 bull run. This is from an old post. But it's like all these coins that were literally the most hyped projects at their tops died. I mean, these coins are dead. And you could have spent your whole last few years trying to get long for the next pump on them. But yeah, I think a lot of the top coins this year are dead. The coins that were top performers, but who knows? It's just I've done lots of posts on this, just warning. I mean, mostly to warn people. It's not really about necessarily the specific coins I'm going to be interested in, but like there's a lot of people who are new to the scene, and they're going to be under some impression that like if they buy, you know, Popcat or Whiff spot, that all you have to do is long and chill, right? And these coins are coming back to all-time highs, and oh yeah, this sucks, but you know, this is coming. But it's like a lot of these coins are just going to do this, and they will never recover, and they're just stuck, you know, in the mentality of if you don't sell, you can't lose. It's just about patience. But they haven't ever looked at 2021, and they think it's all different this time, and they don't realize that all those other coins are the same thing. I'm not saying I think hype is that. I'm not saying I think hype. I mean, obviously there's going to be new coins that do well. What do I think about the recent pump on Bitcoin going for 86K? I don't really think anything about it. I think it was not surprising when all this started breaking. I think here you really had to just say, hey, this is all probably coming. I mean, I made a video on it, a 5-minute video. When Price was here just saying, hey, there's no sense being short for downtrending ideas when all this is breaking, and every relevant potential structural idea for a downtrend here is breaking, because price, I mean, you can go watch the video, but something along the lines of price is probably able to move quite quickly in a lot of these breakout scenarios through these levels, and probably up here, right, to 96, 97K, PLC, GP. I mean, so I'm not surprised. That sounds made up. It's not that I don't like taking coin requests. Honestly, it's just sometimes I don't want to just chart a bunch of random coins, but especially new coins with no price history. But Pristine Fiber says, I know you don't like taking chart requests. A new coin that's backed by BlackRock and has high time frame bullish market structure, low holds is Ondo. Backed by BlackRock sounds like a fake thing. I don't know. It could be true. A new coin backed by BlackRock. What does that mean? In what way is it backed by BlackRock? Sorry, again, take me out of the the category of people that would know anything about that sort of thing. Some pretty nasty wicks there, hey, on the daily chart. Must be BlackRock doing some work. Yeah, give me 1 second. Yeah, well, so I don't really have any opinion on the fundamental aspect of its connection to BlackRock or anything like that. Pretty pretty wild price action. Like, this is the hourly chart. This is some of that grinding, rolling over price action, and it's in a big impulse, like seeking out some big liquidations there. Rebounds in a few hours, 70%. Certainly not a stable coin. Look at that GP pump. It's not quite as clean. Yeah. Well, I would say, yeah, I would say I'm more a trader. So, as far as like its high time frame bullish market structure here, a little speculative, but definitely could be a shift in. It could be a shift in market structure. Like, come back down into the POC. Got a big point of control there. Might be different depending on the, I don't know how relevant the point of control on Bybit spot is. Come into this this low. Probably hey, that looks like a nice little technical setup. You have a big high time frame daily downtrend breaking. Come down to these lows. Something in there. probably need to, probably need to look for all of this. Either tap it, run these lows, and then nice continuation idea. Come up, take these highs, basically run from the POC to the value area high. Take this high, or this high, just something in here. And then maybe rotate back down to the lows. Yeah, I mean, if I was gonna look for a long, I'd probably either look for that or just coming down and taking these lows. All right. Hey, well, maybe that's it for me today. I might go do some weekend stuff. Yeah, I think something in here probably looks pretty interesting.